What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Zahid, and today I'm gonna help you answer the question, should you spend your hard-earned money on a short shifter for your Honda S2000, or are you better off enjoying the stock one that Honda designed? We're gonna answer that. We're also gonna go over two of the most popular short shifters in the market today, so stick around. Okay, so the S2000 already comes with one of the best shifters ever, arguably the best shifter ever. So why do companies like Renegade Motorsports and Hybrid Racing insist on developing short shifters for this car? I'm gonna compare the design of these two shifters and then we're gonna drive them on the road. Then I'm gonna give you guys my honest feedback on what I think of each of them and how they compare to the stock one. Before we get started, I have to mention that this video is sponsored by absolutely nobody, and these parts aren't cheap. So do me a favor, if you appreciate today's video, hit the subscribe button to support the channel. Thanks. Okay, so let's get started with the Renegade short shifter. Here it is. It's not pristine brand new because it's actually been in my car for the last 2 years. The Renegade short shifter comes in at $450, so not cheap by any means. It is CNC machined using stainless steel. It has an increased degree towards the driver. You can kind of see that right there. There's a little bit of an angle there. It includes a brass shifter bushing, which I thought this was actually the reason why I decided to buy this in the first place. For reference, the OEM one is like a little plastic piece. And lastly, it has a 25% shorter throw than the OEM one. Overall, it feels like a really well-manufactured part, and it does weigh in at a little over 2 pounds. But how does it feel while driving? So right off the bat, this feels completely different than the OEM shifter. It is way stiffer. You definitely notice the shorter throw, and there's almost no play in neutral. All very different attributes from the OEM shifter and enjoyable. I'm not gonna lie, it feels really good. There's something nice about this shifter where it takes a little bit of extra effort to get it into gear, and that extra effort I feel like provides the driver with some feedback, so you know for sure you're in gear. Whether or not you're in the right gear, that's a totally different story, and I could totally imagine misshifting with this shifter. In fact, I definitely have misshifted it with this shifter. There's something still very nice about the way it feels, the weight of it. It feels very premium, very mechanical, and somehow they took a sporty shifter and made it way sportier. So like I said, those are all fantastic attributes, right? They're all great attributes. But would I say it's better than the OEM shifter? Probably not. I don't think it's actually better than the OEM shifter. I think it's just different. I think for 90% of people, the regular OEM shifter is gonna be fine. All that being said, I have owned this for over 2 years now, and I have experienced a couple drawbacks during that time frame. Firstly, it's not ideal for like a noob driver. If you're like a novice driver like myself, it's not ideal. So I've owned this car for a couple years. Oh, well, more than that, almost 6 years now. And I recently started going to the track. So when you go to the track for the first time, there's a lot of things you're worried about, right? You're looking at the flags, your racing line, the other cars. You're trying to listen to your instructor if you have one. And the last thing you want to worry about is whether or not you're in the right gear. And I did find myself kind of second guessing what gear I was in quite a bit my first couple track days. So if you're kind of like a beginner driver, or if you haven't gone to the track yet and you're thinking about buying this, you might want to just go to the track with your stock shifter first and then decide if you want a short shifter from there. Again, you could chalk that up to me just being like a noob driver, but I did have my driving instructor actually test drive my car too. And he actually was the one that mentioned that he didn't prefer it. He would rather have the stock shifter. So the other thing that kind of bugs me about the shifter is that it occasionally buzzes really, really loud. It doesn't happen all the time, but it happens every once in a while, and it drives me crazy. So I reached out to Renegade. Shout out to Renegade. They were actually really helpful in troubleshooting it. But then a few days after we had figured it out, or, you know, I guess temporarily fixed it, the buzzing came back again. So I just kind of learned to live with it. Overall, I thought that the Renegade short shifter performed well. aside from that buzzing that I experience. But I honestly think it just comes down to your personal preference as to what you're looking for in a shifter. At the end of the day, it's in a Honda S2000, so you can't really go wrong. That being said, like I mentioned earlier, I was heavily considering going back to stock. That is, until I came across this. Hybrid Racing is mainly known for their shifters for other Hondas, but this year they recently launched the short shifter for the S2000. It comes in at $430. It has a 360-degree swivel, so you can actually place the shift knob either closer or further away from you. It also has another adjustment in terms of its height, so you can adjust this lever, you can also adjust this lever, and that allows you to actually extend the shifter throw a little bit if you like, which is really interesting to me. They also have this proprietary shift ball cup, which is very different than the Renegade one, and it contains O-rings kind of holding it together. I don't know if you can actually see that in there. This entire shifter is very interesting to me because they claim to address a lot of the issues that I had with the Renegade shifter. They say that these components cause less vibration in the cabin, and also having the adjustability of this piece means that, let's say I am going to go to the track and I kind of want to extend it out so I can have a bigger gap in between the shift points, I can do so with just the use of an Allen wrench. So enough talking, let's get this in the car and let's take it for a test drive. Once you remove the stock shifter and cleaned up the area, you're going to start by placing the spring perch in the tunnel with the top point set at 12 o'clock. Then you'll need to insert the OEM spring from your stock shifter and place it on top of the spring perch. From here, you'll take your assembled shifter and line up the groove on the shifter with the groove in the transmission tunnel, also at 12 o'clock. This shifter can only go in one way correctly. Any other orientation will result in not being able to roll your gears properly. Now we'll take the supplied hardware and bolt the shifter into place. Reinstall the OEM rubber shift boot cover and the Hybrid Racing insulator. All that's left is to attach the shift rod and adjust to your liking, followed by putting your center console back on. Back in my S2000, testing out the Hybrid Racing short shifter. Full disclosure, it's actually the next day. You could probably already tell by my change of clothes. My initial impression of the Hybrid Racing shifter is that it feels very familiar. It feels just like the Renegade shifter in a lot of ways. They both have equally short throws. They both are similarly stiff, and lastly, they both have almost like zero play in neutral and in between gears. All great things. Where they differ a little bit is that the Hybrid Racing shifter feels a little bit cheaper than the Renegade shifter. It feels a little bit lighter. It doesn't have that premium feeling that I kind of got from the Renegade shifter. And it kind of got me thinking, right? Renegade designed their shifter so that it's probably ideal for most people looking for a short shifter in terms of the throw, in terms of the slight angle towards the driver. Whereas Hybrid Racing created a more customizable short shifter that can appeal to like multiple people, whether you want your shift knob to be closer to you or further away from you, or you want your throw higher or lower. I feel like because Hybrid Racing went with that route, they have to use multiple components, and because they're using multiple components as opposed to like one solid shifter, it feels a little, I don't want to say cheaper, I don't want to say tinny, but it just doesn't have the same premium feeling as the Renegade shifter. There also is a little bit of buzzing coming from the Hybrid Racing shifter. And to be fair, the directions when installing recommend going with a shift knob that is heavier than 170 grams. Mine is like 165, so that could play a part in the amount of noise and vibration sounds that are coming through. But overall, it feels very similar. It's just not as satisfying as shifting the Renegade shifter. So, all that being said, if I had to choose between the two, I think I would go with Renegade. I would deal with the buzzing, and I would just enjoy how that shifter feels, because it is extremely satisfying to roll the gears with the Renegade short shifter. So this whole video experiment, if you want to call it that, taught me one thing, and that's I don't think I want a short shifter in my S2000 anymore. I'm going to go back to good old OEM, baby. And don't get me wrong, I love the feeling of the short shifters. I think it's great if that's what you're looking for, but there's just something special about that OEM shifter and how it performs exactly as it's meant to, and no buzzing, and I'm never guessing what gear I'm in. So what does that mean? For the next couple months, I'm gonna be using the hybrid racing shifter for a little bit longer, and I'm gonna test it out with the heavier shift knob just to see if it makes it any better. But ultimately, I'm gonna be listing 2 short shifters for sale, the Renegade and the hybrid. I had a lot of fun making this video. Hope you guys learned a little bit. I hope I helped you make a purchasing decision, or helped you not make a purchasing decision. Yeah, if you like today's video, be sure to subscribe to the channel, comment below, hit me up on Instagram if you guys have any questions. But yeah, until next time, peace out. Take care, guys.